All right, everyone, we have made it here to the 2021 SEMA Show. This is day one, Tuesday morning, and it's gonna be a great day, but I can already tell that the show is definitely lighter than years past, because we're right here, we're at the main entrance here, and as you can see, we don't have a lot of cars out here. In fact, we have none. And normally on a good year, this entire area is completely filled with builds and manufacturers and companies and just a lot of stuff is always out here. This year we've got a bit less. So let's go around, see what we can find, and we'll go inside, of course, once the convention center actually opens up, which for media is about 8:30, and which is half an hour before the general population comes in at 9. Now, when I say general population, I don't mean the general public, because as you know, the SEMA Show is an industry-only trade show. So we're talking about those that are in industry that are actually attending the event. So let's go around, see some cars, and have an amazing day. Now, for the SEMA Show, I've been coming for the better part of 2 decades. And the first time I came to this event was 2002. I was a senior in high school, and I was sponsored by my godfather, who owned a body shop at the time. And so we came down and got to experience all that was SEMA for the first time, and I was blown away and hooked. And of course, been coming ever since. There have only been a couple of years between then and now that I haven't actually come down for the SEMA Show, which of course, always regret not coming down. So being here again after having last year's event canceled is absolutely a great time, and I can't wait to get inside the buildings. Of course, I'm not a big truck or SUV guy, but the SEMA Show, I always stop by and check out what's going on in the latest and greatest in trucks and SUVs, just because it's always neat to see what's coming out. And there are always a few trucks, SUVs, Jeeps that catch my eye. And of course, this Jeep behind me is no exception. It looks really clean with the color choices. It's got a 3rd row on this one. It's a really nice looking Jeep. All right, one thing we do every year at SEMA is stop by the cat skin booth and pick up a stress-relieving cow. They've been doing it for years and years, and of course I have to get one every year. I've got them all. There was one year that they didn't do it, and everyone came and wanted cows, and there were no cows. And they took that as note and brought the cows back the following year. So we've got another cow to add to the collection. You just never know what you're gonna see at SEMA. Besides just the car stuff, the displays are absolutely unreal. I'm behind me at Bedrock. They have a woolly mammoth on display that is life size. It's moving its head, it's making noises. It is just absolutely ridiculous, and I love it. All right, I'm not usually very excited about the new C8 just because I think it's overly designed on the exterior, but this C8 wide body behind me is absolutely insane. They went way over the top on the design elements. It looks pretty wild. It's definitely appropriate for SEMA. Let's take a closer look at it. All right, here at the SEMA show, you just never know who you're gonna run into. Right beside me here is Ricky Bobby himself.
Hey, how you doing, people out there in the interweb world? My name's Ricky Bobby. I'm a driver here. I'm representing 121 e-commerce. It's if you need to sell parts and stuff online for your cars and whatever, yeah, give them a call because they know what they're doing. Look at all those honest faces over there. Look at that. Look at that. They look like mama's boys.
How can you say no to Ricky Bobby?
That's right.
Definitely go check it out. Ricky Bobby, I appreciate your time.
Shake and bake, my man.
Shake and bake.
Woo! You ain't first, you last. Praise trademark Ricky Bobby.
All right, so when it comes to automotive royalty, we definitely have to mention Chip Foose. And he's definitely an innovative designer, and he has been designing amazing custom cars for decades. And this year at the SEMA show, they have a special exhibit with a lot of the cars that he has built over the years here, all in one location. And one of the things that I love to do when I come here to SEMA every year is check out the different builds that Chip Foose has done. And this year they've got a bunch of them from previous years here on display. Behind me is a totally custom built, coach built, one-off design that Chip Foose did and was debuted here at SEMA over a decade ago. I remember being here when it was unveiled, and they ended up building, I think, a handful of these cars. I don't remember exactly how many they ended up building. They definitely built at least the one for the debut. So let's go around, see some of these cars that Chip has built over the years that got here on display at the 2021 SEMA show. So of course the 54 Chevrolet is a car that's got a special place in my heart. Technically, my very first car was a 1954 Chevy. I got it when I was like 2 years old. My dad brought it home as a parts car and I claimed it as mine. It was not, of course, as you know, the first car that I actually drove. My first car that I drove back and forth to school in was my 72 Challenger that I still have today. I finished the 54 a couple years after high school when I was in college, and then subsequently sold it a few years later to help fund the 71 CUDA build that we did. Now this 54 behind it, Chip did, he's added some really nice touches to it. As you can see, it's got some oversized wheels that look like the original factory hubcaps, and then back here on the quarter panel, the trim has been widened. So if you look here, this trim panel here is usually about half the width. And so they've widened it here and makes it a little cleaner. And we come around the back and the taillights have been Frenched in. This has normally got a chrome bezel here that's been molded into the body on this car. The bumpers have been tucked in to make them a little cleaner. There's just a lot of nice touches to this 54. And so Chip Foose, of course, is definitely an innovator, definitely an extremely talented individual, and does really nice, clean builds that you know when you look at them, something's different from what the car was from the factory, but you can't always put your finger on it right away until you start looking at it really close, and then you can really see the true artwork and design work that Chip Foose does. Now, of course, I'm also a huge sucker for the 57 Chevy, probably in part because my dad has a 57 Chevy Nomad that he's had since as long as I can remember, and it's just an American icon of car. It's really a great work of art right out of the factory from Chevrolet back in 1957, and yet Chip Foose has been able to put his magical touch on several over the years and does some amazing work. This 57 convertible behind me is no exception to that, and of course there's another one over there. We'll go take a look at that as well. Now, there is one 57 Chevy that he had his hands on that's not here. That is actually the first car that Chip Foose did that I was introduced to him as a designer, and that's a car called Chavoom. It was an amazing, really out-of-the-box thinking design for a modification of a 57 Chevy hardtop, and a truly historic piece of American automotive history. But let's take a look here at these two 57 convertibles and take a look at the amazing craftsmanship that Chip has done on these cars. So the red 57 convertible behind me is definitely a more custom take on the 57 design by Chip Foose compared to the turquoise one next to it. So this one they've gone through, they've widened the quarter panel moldings, they've went ahead and replaced the entire windshield assembly, posts and all, a lot of more of the molding in of different components on the body, make things look cleaner, more modern, and it's just two very contrasting designs of the same car, and both are incredibly beautiful and incredibly well thought out. Well, did you ever think you'd see an LS swap Bentley? Well, you will here at SEMA. There's no telling what you're going to see. They have new cars every year and always pushing the limit. And of course, why not put an LS in an old vintage Bentley? All right, so SEMA's been doing a pretty good job of trying to make it look like the event is full up and not at a reduced rate like it is. And they've been doing that by including additional food vendors throughout, additional seating, which is definitely nice. So that way it helps to cut down on the lines when it comes to get lunch. But you can definitely know if you've been here in the past, like I have, that the show is definitely smaller than it is before, but at the same time, it still looks pretty full and it's really well attended. So it's definitely nice, a little more spread out. They have the new West Hall, of course, which takes up additional space for putting other vendors and things like that. But of course, the outside has a lower attendance for what they've got on display out there compared to what's inside. So overall, it looks really good, great attendance, and having a blast. Let's continue the show and wander around, show you some more stuff they've got here at SEMA this year. You know, it's not just vehicles that you come and check out, SEMA, and the different parts manufacturers for those cars that trucks you're working on, but it's also a place to come and check out new tools. And Craftsman here, of course, is showing their new V lineup of Craftsman hand tools. And what better way to showcase that than, of course, a vintage 50s racing Ferrari. All right, behind me at the Barrett-Jackson booth is one of my dream cars from growing up, and it's the Gone in 60 Seconds Eleanor 67 Mustang GT 500. Now this one was built for Buster Posey and is a tribute to that movie, to that car, and this one's got a couple of modifications that make it definitely different and unique from the one in the movie. Particularly the wheels, of course, are definitely a little bit different. I like the wheel change, that's a nice touch. And the biggest change that I really love is under the hood, and it's got a Boss 429 based engine that is an absolute monster, and I'm amazed they were able to shoehorn it into the engine compartment of this car. Now, there is one thing that's different about this car compared to the movie car that I'm not particularly fond of, but it's an easy enough change, and to each their own. It does have an automatic transmission in it, where the one in the movie, of course, was a manual 4-speed. So this car is insane. It's going to be crossing the auction block at Scottsdale in January for Barrett-Jackson. So let's take a walk around, show you this amazing build of an Eleanor tribute car. All right, so the central hall here at the SEMA Show at the Las Vegas Convention Center tends to be the busiest. This is where you get most of your people to go and check out all the products, because this is where you get a lot of your high performance parts, your restoration parts, your hot rod parts, all of those kinds of fun and exciting things that really make the classic car industry what it is. And so of course, this is where I spend a fair amount of time checking out products, talking to companies, seeing what type of hardware we can go ahead and get on my classic cars, as well as some of the modern stuff, because you got a lot of diversity in the brands here, because it's all about performance, as well as the restoration and the hot rodding. So wander around, take a look around, see the products and the cars they've got out here in this area, and continue to enjoy the day. All right, this 70 Scamp behind me is a perfect example of making changes to your classic stock muscle car that make it still look fairly stock and from the factory, but in actuality is not how that car came equipped. So like the wheels on this car are oversized versions of the stock steel wheels. On top of the hood, it's got an air grabber hood, which would have been correct off of like a 70 Roadrunner. And then on the interior, it's got a E-body Plymouth Cuda or Dodge Challenger center console. Overall, the car is very clean, very well executed, and I absolutely love how this car turned out. All right, we continue to LS swap the world here at the SEMA Show in 2021. Behind me is a Mini Cooper that's got an LS swap in it. This thing is ridiculous. It's really incredible. I gotta say, it's probably a handful to drive considering dropping an LS swap in a Mini Cooper. Take a closer look at it. All right, once again, SEMA Show delivers with another LS Swap the World. Behind me, they've LS swapped a Tesla. Yes, they have. They've taken your EV, they've put a gas engine in it, and it makes it that much cooler. So let's take a closer look and see what these guys have done with putting an LS motor in a Tesla. So of course, an increasing trend in the automotive community is the EV conversions. And here at SEMA, of course, we're going to be seeing a lot more of the new technology come out that way. And there's a company right here behind me that they are specializing in EV conversions, and the electric motors, when you pop the hood, look like vintage period correct engines that are gas powered, and yet nope, the car is actually electric powered, and you're going to notice it when you go down the road and don't have an exhaust note, and get a lot of people to turn heads by that situation. So this is one company. There's a few more of them here running around that way, and it's definitely going to be an increasing trend over the coming years here at SEMA and just the automotive community in general. All right, of course, no trip to SEMA is complete without stopping at my favorite booth, Mopar, and checking out what all they've got. They usually have a bunch of cool new cars, concept cars, and they usually do a press conference on Tuesday evening, the first day of SEMA. But unfortunately this year, it looks like even Mopar's toning things down a little bit, and they aren't doing a press conference today. So let's go around, show you what Mopar's booth has got, and go from there. All right, and that's gonna be a wrap here on day one at the SEMA Show. We're gonna be back here, of course, bright and early tomorrow, catch you some great coverage of whatever else we missed today. And of course, unfortunately, we are still gonna miss some things just because there's too much to see here in even 2 days, even with it being a reduced size. But I hope you enjoyed all the content from today's video. And of course, if you did, go ahead, smash that like button, give me that thumbs up. And as always, if you want to be kept up to date with all my future uploads, don't forget to smash the subscribe button down below and ring that notification bell as well. So that way YouTube will keep you updated with all of my future uploads. And as always, guys, I will see you at the next video.